Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Wednesday, November 12th, 8:45 at night, and this is our daily recap video for the trades and holdings of the YieldMax weekly paying funds, ULTY, the Ultra Option Income Strategy Fund, LFGY, the Crypto Industry Portfolio Option Income Strategy Fund, and SLTY, the Ultra Short Option Income Strategy Fund. As always, please follow me on X at ETF_Inspector1 if you don't already. All right, just another rough day in the market. We don't seem to have an end coming anytime soon. ULTY down almost 2%, 1.96% to 438. LFGY got beat up as well, down to $30.61 after a 1.34% decrease. And SLTY, well, when we're losing 2% on one end, you'd think we'd be gaining 2% on the other, but it's only up 0.3%, 0.35, and down fairly big after hours. I didn't notice if ULTY was up a little bit. So, all right, when we take a look, we'll start with ULTY. ULTY Anonymous, they were calling us. It feels like that sometimes. Okay, no shares traded within the fund, so it's just options, and we are adjusting, still staying within the same week here on Astera Labs, bringing in $960,000, closing and rolling. Cypher, again, staying in the same week, adjusting the strike closer to the share price, $650,000 credit. Iron, again, staying within the same week, adjusting our option strikes, collecting $720,000. Nebius Group, adjusting the calls only, the short calls, $981,000 credit. Palantir, this is the first one where we are closing and rolling to next week. That brought in $890,000. Rocket Lab, adjusting for this week, the strike price on the short calls, $560,000 credit. New Scale Power, it's like Palantir, rolling to next week, bringing in $2.5 million. And Symbotic, adjusting, still staying with the Friday the 14th expiration date, $408,000 credit. So all in all, it was a $7.7 million credit on the options trading side of things. It's going to go along with a $27 million decrease in the value of the shares within the fund. First off, firm holdings. So this was a kind of a uglier day than, not really, but worse than usual. So the weighted move of the underlyings 1.4%, and ULTY actually dropped 1.95%. That generally is not the way things work because of protective puts and things like that. But I'm going to be able to explain to you a little bit why. Things like when a firm goes up 5%, but your calls were already in the money at the start of it. Now that those shares moved up, but you were capped partially. About 50% of it was completely capped. The other portion of it became capped about halfway up the movement. So while if you just owned the shares, you would have seen the full 5% increase. Since you have calls sold against them, not able to achieve that. So we're going to end up feeling some downsides, but then not getting the full benefit of the upside. Same thing here with SoFi. Running into the red is going to mean you don't get to fully capture all the upward movement. So it's kind of a worst of both worlds today. Luckily, it was not enormous moves. Astera Labs is next, down 5.8%. Calls at 167.50 are still in play, 6% out of the money. Others got rolled. That's what the orange is. We just talked about it on the last page. Cash, negative 23 million. That's kind of the standard as far as today was dividend X day. So you see the cash go negative on that day, and it'll balance out in the next day or two. Celsius Holdings up 2.7%. Calls are sold at 46, 2.4% out of the money, expiring, already moved to next week. Or not already moved. These were just added this week. So they generally, when they add a new underlying to the fund, they'll sell it out to the following week. Cipher Mining down 6.9%. They rolled those calls after they went way out. Coinbase flat on the day. Calls expiring on Friday at 312.50 and 322.50 are 2.8 and 6% out of the money. They also have a put spread all the way at the bottom. Selling the 310s, they're actually in the money by 1.97%. So they need to move up $6 to win that trade. CoreWeave down 3%. 96s are 12% out of the money. There's $447 million in government obligation funds. Galaxy, it's a put spread with no shares, and with the upward movement 1.7%, their puts are 4% out of the money at 30. Hims and Hers down 1.8%. Calls are sold at 42, 7.6% out. Robinhood was up 0.8. Their calls at 135 expiring Friday are 1.5% out of the money. Iron down 2.9%. Everything got rolled. Lululemon, we just recently bought shares of this as well, so it's not just the put spread like it used to be. It's actually a put spread and a collar. And the sold calls at 180 are 5.3% out. MP Material Corp down 3.6%. 62s and 65s are in play, 3.8 and 8.8% out of the money. MSTR, there's no shares, it's just a put spread, not working out. Down 2.9% today. The sold puts are 11.3% in the money. Even the purchase puts are way in the money. So this one's basically this can't get worse regardless of what it does. Really, we're already maxed out on the difference we'll be paying to close these out. Nebius Group, the big loser today, down 7.6%. The calls got rolled. Oklo, the big winner, up 6.6%. And they were able to capture all of that with the 116 calls still in play, 4% out of the money. Oracle's the next one, a put spread with no shares. Again, they are 5.7% in the money on those sold puts. The long puts are in the money as well, so it doesn't matter that they dropped their today they went to the point where they're maxed out, so it doesn't matter. They can't get worse. Palantir down 3.5%. Calls sold at 192.50 or 4.5% out of the money, and the others got rolled. Rocket Lab down about 2.5%. $55 calls are 10% out. The 57s got rolled as well. NewScale Power down 2.9%. Everything got rolled. SoFi Technology up 4%. Again, we weren't able to capture the majority of that because now the calls are 3.7% in the money. So they would have moved up basically as much as the value increase. The cost to close them out would have moved up. SoundHound down about 1.5%, 1450s or 9.5% out of the money, and Symbotic down 4.6%. $71 calls are 12.5% out. 73s got rolled. So that's how we had a $27 million decrease in the value of the shares within the fund. There's $1.9 billion. So if you remember yesterday video, I said unless people bought into the fund, we're going to drop under $2 billion, and that is the case. We did. $1.9 billion. People sold out of the fund yesterday, 1.9 million shares. There's 435,075,000 outstanding shares. At the start of the day, the NAV 447, closing price 438. And tomorrow's distribution day, and it will be, this was last week's most recent, so tomorrow's is 6.26 cents per share. Next up, we have LFGY. Crypto has been taking a beating for the last week or two as well. And today was no different. So no shares changed, but we've got options trading, closing and rolling of Core Scientific brought in 144,000. They did roll to next week. Circle, same thing, rolled to next week, brought in 92,000. Mara rolling to next week brought in 135,000. Mercado Libre, they did well on this, right? Closing out for 52 cents and selling new for $35. Unfortunately, it never ends up being a very large dollar amount because we only have 32 contracts because one share is like $2,200. But it brought in 81,000, and MSTR roll to next week brought in 84,000. So all in all, a little over $500,000 in credit on the options trading side of things, and the share values dropped by about $3.5 million. We look at our holdings. Bullish was up 0.25%. $50 calls are 9.8% out of the money. Bitmine Immersion was the big winner, up 2.4%. And of all things, it went in the money, so we didn't even get to capture all of it. $40 calls are 1.3% in the money. BitDeer's just absolutely been getting trashed, down 7%. I feel like we've mentioned them every video. How much are we down now on BitDeer? In a week, they're down 35%. Giving up basically everything they made 3 months ago. $18% out of the money on those 1650 calls. Cash, there's $1.5 million. Government obligation funds, $2.4 million. Cypher was down 6.9%. 2150 calls are 23% out of the money. CleanSpark down 5%. 1450 calls are 8.7% out. Coinbase was flat, 3.6% out of the money on those 315s. Core Scientific down 5%. Everything got rolled. Circle Internet Group down 12%. Everything got rolled. So Circle, we talked about them the other day as well. I mean, they IPO'd, or I don't know I guess that's the word, IPO'd back in June, went straight to almost 300, and now they're back pretty much at where they opened. So that was a crazy ride. It's down 12% today. iShares Ethereum Trust down about 0.75%. They have 26s and 2650s, 0.8 and 2.7% out of the money. Galaxy Digital was up 1.7%. 33s are 5.5% out. GameStop was down 0.4%. $22 calls are 3% out of the money. Robinhood up 0.8. Their calls at 139 are 4.5% out. Hut 8 Corp down almost 5%. $47 calls are 12.6% out of the money. iBit, instead of earning shares, they've got deep in the money calls from a tax loss harvesting scenario. They're down 1.3% today, and their calls sold at 57.50 are still in the money by 0.16%. Mara was down 1.5%. Everything got rolled. MBTX, they have no shares. This is just the put debit spread where they are betting it will drop. They purchased the 255s for December 31st. They are correct on their bet. They're in the money by 6.2%, and today they dropped big, 239. I think this is maybe the lowest we've seen them, at least in a long time. Oh, why is the chart unavailable? Well, they're down 11% over the last month. Can't see the rest of the chart. But it is odd that MBTX, I don't know, being crypto and all, them placing this long bet that it's going to drop makes you worry about the whole crypto portfolio. But Mercado Libre up 0.2%. Everything rolled. Strategy down 2.9%. The 250s are still in play, 11% out of the money. NU Holdings down 1.2%. $16 calls are still actually in the money by 1.1%. NVIDIA up 0.33%. Unfortunately, their 114s were already in the money and went deeper to about 0.33%. They also have 197.50s that are 1.9% out of the money. Unfortunately, they have about twice as many at the out of the money strike, so they are still winning that trade, so it should offset. Opera up 0.88%. Their calls are sold for next Friday at 15, 16, and 18. They're 9 through 31% out of the money. PayPal was down 0.3%, and they have a put spread, not a call spread, sold on them. And so they still have another 0.3% to go, or 20 cents before those $67 puts are in the money. Riot Platforms down 4.2%. $17 calls are about 10% out. SharpLink Gaming up 9/100ths, just about a tenth. $12 calls are 3.7% out. And Block down 0.2%. $66 calls are 0.3% out of the money. So that's how we had a $3.5 million decrease in the value of the shares within the fund. Assets under management at the start of the day, $208 million, 6,725,000 outstanding shares. The NAV started the day at $31.07 before the share price dropped to $30.61. I believe it was roughly 50.46 cents per share is what we'll all be getting tomorrow, so long as you own them today and purchase them prior to today. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Okay, finally, SLTY. All right, I'm spending even less time putting things together on SLTY, but big picture, they closed out their shorting of Circle, and Circle has been tanking, so they did very well shorting them, but apparently they are now low enough that they don't feel comfortable shorting them anymore, so they are taking the win for sure on that. They also started shorting Rigetti, which is makes sense. They just stopped. They just closed them out of ULTY a couple of days ago, so now we are shorting them over here in SLTY. And SanDisk, this is not a complete closeout, but we did close out a portion of the shares. After that, they just started rolling a bunch of positions. All in all, options trading on the day, they were down $107,000. That's going to go along with share value increases of $491,000. So things are still working in SLTY's favor with this market doing a little downturn. Big picture, AMD was the big winner today, but you don't want winners in a shorted fund. So them going up 9% dropped the value by $91,000. Let's see, Applied Digital with their big drop took their puts into the money. AppLovin's getting close. BitDeer, big drop, and they were already in the money on their puts. Circle Internet Group closed them out today. They were the big loser, 12% drop. That's about it. So, 22 million in assets under management, 600,000 outstanding shares. NAV at the start of the day, 37.48. Like we said, they only climbed a little bit today. 53.56 cents per share was last week's payment. This week, 58.31. So, okay, that's all I've got for you. I got a dad joke. So before I do, thank you very much for all the support, likes, shares, and comments. And sorry that the video is coming out so late and that I sound tired and ready to go to bed. But here's your dad joke. The dad joke's worth it. This one's pretty funny. Yeah. Okay, did you know that William Shatner once tried to start up his own women's lingerie company? Unfortunately, Shatner panties turned out to be a terrible choice for a brand name. All right, thank you for watching. Good luck trading tomorrow, and good night. Catch you in the next video.